hard to say goodbye, but is this year's group of seniors specifically difficult to say goodbye to, especially how they've performed in winning this senior class in history?
I think we were talking about this a little bit last night. I think so much of what has to do with how special these guys are has zero to do with wins and losses, has zero to do with football, and everything to do with who they are and the relationships that are sort of kind of distilled when it comes to football. But just a bunch of great guys, a bunch of guys that we've all known their entire careers. Everybody that's kind of going through here, we've recruited, and we know everything about them, and it's been a great run. And then, oh, by the way, football, the wins and a couple losses in there, but just a great bunch of guys.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Mark, Hronis was saying last night that this started after the Alamo Bowl. Any success you've had this year, that he got together with some other players after the Alamo Bowl and they kind of focused. Did you sense some changes during the offseason? This was a really focused group. Is that kind of paying benefits now?
I think so. I mean, it was we tweaked some things every offseason and made some changes of trying to be a bigger, faster, stronger group, more functional group, particularly in his group on the offensive line. Some changes in our offseason program, and then just the mindset of controlling everything you can control. And that's something that everybody talks about, and they learned it the hard way last year of thinking about somebody else's result and this and the other, and not maybe losing sight of a couple things that they controlled, and to their credit have competed like heck in that vein.
Any question?
It was hard to see Hronis on the sideline, but especially on senior day. But I noticed that you had Hamani Stevens at center and Tony Brenner at left guard. And I was wondering to know, pending Ross's return, what the offensive lineup was going to be. Is it going to be a week-to-week thing, or did you find the one of your dreams, or what did you?
It's kind of like a dial. It's just you spin the dial and see what comes up week to week. It seems like right now, and those guys have done a great job. They've had a great attitude. They've worked really hard. Hamani did a great job last week in practice of really setting the tempo for that group, just of literally getting set and pushing the tempo, and not missing a beat. Do you miss this or that about the other guy? Maybe, but you have to push forward and push on, and it takes those guys to do that in practice to kind of prove to everybody else that, hey, we're ready to go, and try to fill their shoes as best as possible. And then from going on from there, we'll certainly figure out. It's been a week-to-week existence in that position room.
Andrew?
Missed tackling was such a topic early in the season. It seemed like you expressed some frustration that you wanted to get better and better. How has it been in the last 2-3 weeks, or this last game? It seems like, obviously, the way the points you're allowing, it would seem like they've been fewer, but I wasn't sure what the tape shows.
It's been better. I mean, there were certainly a few things yesterday where it was more of misfits than missed tackles. We had a couple of creases there. They got us in a couple unbalanced looks. One time I think we thought it was unbalanced and we misaligned to it, and just simple communication things. We had lost leverage the one time. The guy had the long run in the third quarter, kind of on the press box sideline there. Just lost leverage, and those things can bite you. Missed tackles obviously can bite you. We've been better, but winning covers up a lot of those things.
Matt?
Going back to the offensive line, you did get a guy back, and Andre. How do you feel like he did? And then also the tight ends, you said you had to go back and look at film for them.
Okay. I think in reverse order there, the tight ends played okay. It was great to see Evan Bayless find the end zone and in a meaningful game for him, and a guy that's worked really hard and just needs, I think, that little boost of confidence. We have a ton of belief in his ability, and just some guys need to visualize it and they can do it. Some guys need to visualize it and then practice it and then do it and then believe they can. It's just you never kind of know that mix of what it's going to take for each guy. And then Johnny Munt and Cole Kai both played in limited roles and did fairly well. What was the other part? Andre, yeah. Andre was rusty. I know he would say that himself. He did some really good things, and he did some things that he looked like he was back out there for the first time in a while. Some of it, again, is just trusting that everything's functioning well. Some of it was identifying things, but definitely a guy that's he'll be 100 times better next week. Just just knocking off that rust and reassuring himself that, hey, this is going to be okay.
Any questions from Gary or Chantel or Jason?
Yeah, Mark, I know you're going to talk about it a lot this week, but, you grew up with the Civil War and everything, and you've been a part of it for a long time, but it is just another game on the schedule. Does it mean a little bit more to you personally, maybe?
Well, in my current job, I can't get personal, in terms of that part of it. But yeah, I absolutely grew up in a split community, you would say, of in Coos Bay. There's allegiances on both sides and friends and family on both sides, and so that the back and forth banter that lasted throughout the year, I know what that means. I know what it means to live in Bend, Oregon, and have the con for the rest of the year.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Mark, how do you manage the schedule coming off an emotional win, and then you have the Civil War, and then a holiday mixed in? Kind of how do you manage the week?
Yeah, it's been, again, kind of a year-long process of how we've tried to plan things out, and so far so good. This week is a quote-unquote normal week, with the exception of the holiday in terms of how we're going to work, and we're going to get done. We're going to move our meetings up until the early afternoon that we normally do on Thursday night, and then get our players and our coaches and our staff a chance to have as normal of Thanksgiving as possible. We'll make sure all of our players have a place to go. We'll have a lot of families in town, not only for the game but for Thanksgiving. Then our banquet is on Sunday, and so we'll have that all ramrodded into a 72-hour period.
Do you want to give the microphone back to Warren?
No,
but hold on.
Personal.
Oh, sorry, Andrew. Hold on.
The screen passes are, again, something that you felt like in post-game sessions here and there that kind of hurt you guys a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a pattern to what teams you're seeing from your defense, or you feel like you guys are getting better?
Yes and no. I mean, screens are kind of like, double moves. They're a shot. And it's either a big gain or the ball's dirted at the running back's legs, or it's you're tackled for no gain. It's very rarely a 6-yard gain. It's usually a boom or bust type of situation. They had a couple booms and a couple busts. But as far as what we were supposed to do on the play, at one time where a guy, his eyes were just wrong, and he could have rallied to the ball a little bit faster, or a little bit sooner, and mitigated some of the yardage. But that's one of those things where if you're going to rush the passer, if you're going to be a great pass rushing team, you're going to give up some screen game, and you have to balance those kind of wins and losses.
Warren.
More 42 rush attempts, I think, and 32 pass attempts last night. Is that kind of in the ballpark, or is the 40 rush attempts kind of where you want to be? I know it's all situational.
Yeah, it is all situational. I mean, we go into a game and we have a plan, I think, very generally of what we want to do, and it's certainly of how we're going to start the game is basically 50-50, basically. But then from there, it's how are they playing us? What are we seeing? Is it this or that? Seeing how we're holding up in protection, how we're blocking. All the there's so many factors that go into it as to how the game plays out. Obviously, time and score is going to affect some of that as well. But our mix was good, our execution was okay, and so that's a good problem considering the outcome.
Is there, on either one of those, is there room for improvement? I guess there's always room for improvement, but is there maybe in the rushing game, would you like to see more improvement there? Or?
A ton. I mean, it's funny. Sometimes we block two people, and Royce makes one guy miss, breaks a tackle, and it's a 9-yard gain, and that's a great run play. It's and there are so many things. Or Marcus pulls the ball and they misfit it, and he runs for a touchdown. So there's a lot of things that on both sides of the coin of the run game and the pass game that missed a couple protections at guard, had a couple physical breakdowns, had a couple mental, just all those. There's a million things in a game like that the quarterback might just reset and make a throw, and two guys need to have better technique, or whatever it is. And the key to it though is having a group of guys that comes in today and tomorrow and looks at it and goes, man, yes, that I need to improve that. Boom, boom, boom. We need to fix that and move on.
What was Tyner's status on Saturday, and moving forward, if he's unavailable, what do you guys do at running back behind him, behind Royce?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is literally day to day, and we're going to do kind of what we did in this game of a mix and match of between Kenny Bassett, Royce, Byron. There's some other guys that Charles has done some things in the backfield, so some guys that they're multi-purpose guys. I forgot to have I mean plays of the week.
No.
The special team, we had too many indecisive coaches this afternoon, so we have 3 co-players of the game on special teams: Jonathan Lloyd and Kenny Bassett. The special teams scout of the week was Jalen Jelks, who's been doing a great job for us on the scout defense as well. The offensive players of the game were Charles Nelson and Byron Marshall. Byron had a huge block on Royce's first run. Took out about 3 guys. Did some great things in the run game that kind of go unnoticed. Charles Nelson did some really good things in run and pass. And John Kenyon was our scout. And then defensively, Tony Washington and Troy Hill. And the scout of the week was Lane Roseberry.
Questions, Gary, Chantel, Jason.
Yeah, Mark, yesterday Hronis was talking about how, we might not know Royce as well as like Marcus, but he said character-wise they're pretty similar. I wonder if you could comment on that side of him and just on the year he's had as a true freshman.
Yeah, they are very similar character type guys, and that's in as we found out yesterday, that's like sainthood or something in our world. But yeah, Royce has been awesome all throughout the recruiting process. Just a guy and a family that are rock solid. A very humble guy. He's probably more outgoing at this stage, I think, than Marcus was. Marcus will look you in the eye, but he wouldn't enjoy it. But Royce, I think, looks you in the eye and does enjoy it. But they're very, very similar guys, which is a huge compliment to both of them.
Does he remind you of anyone running wise since you've been at Oregon? Any comparison, or is he
Dave Williford?
He's a bulldog then.
Everybody talks about Jonathan Stewart. I wasn't here when Jonathan Stewart was here. I was on the business end of Jonathan Stewart, and he was really good. But I don't know. I'm horrible at those comparisons. Don't ask me about stats or comparisons.
Hey, Mark.
How's that for an answer? Yes, sir.
Hey, Mark. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch Arizona State at Oregon State tape, or read about it, or hear about it, but that was a highly ranked team going in there, and not only was it frigid, it looks like, but Oregon State sort of persevered and won that game in the second half. How do you go in as a highly ranked team, Mark, and sort of really try to not be upset in that sort of environment, like Arizona State was?
You prepare like heck, and that's it. If you read some of the stuff that came out of that week, it was boy on Tuesday we shoulda, boy on Monday we shoulda, and again going back to I think I'm not sure if it was Ryan or Warren's question about a long time ago, but just controlling what we can control, and we don't control Oregon State's mindset. I know it's going to be they're going to be fired up and ready to play and rocking and rolling, and that'll be a great atmosphere as it always is for game day. And we need to have a great Sunday. We need to have a great Monday. We need to have a great Tuesday that leads up to our best showing on Saturday.
Okay.
Your question.
Just going back to the running backs really quick. Even though the game was a blowout and it made sense for a bunch of the senior guys to get a lot of touches, was Ford and Bassett, were they going to see their fair share of touches in their last game at Autzen, no matter what, or was that because of the circumstances of the game?
That was the time we scored. I mean, we have a ton of respect for Colorado. I think those guys are playing their tails off. Coach McIntyre's doing a great job, and we didn't go into that game going, hey, at this time we're going to put in this guy because we're going to be up by X. We gave them, as we give everybody, our absolute best shot. And it was great. It was great, by the same token, it was great for those guys to be able to get in.
Just real quick, going back to the offensive line, but I had noticed there was some early pressure on Marcus in the first half, and I think they even got a sack. They got to him once. And how much do you chalk that up to individual kind of adjustments being made, or that Pelham talking to him, or both? How much is that on an individual making an adjustment there?
You were talking about pressure on Marcus, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the offensive lineman, how much are they?
Okay. It was, the one time we had the significant pressure was an assignment error by one of the guards. And then there, again, a couple of things where it's technique, a couple of things where, physically didn't do a great job. There were, it's a little bit of everything. Getting the ball out. There's always throwing the football is an 11-man job. There's route timing, spacing, all those kind of things, protection. Communication is a huge deal in pass protection, but yeah, I wish Coach Pelham could tell the other team not to rush. That would be good.
Warren?
Mark, I was talking to Coach Neal later last week, and he was pretty candid about the evolution of Oregon football and how far it's come. I think 7 years in a row now, double-digit wins. But he was talking about when Coach Kelly first got here, that there was an edict that all of you laid down that you were going to have the best practice every single day that you could when you were on the field. Maybe if you could talk about that and just that philosophy and how that has morphed into the success of what Oregon football is. And he also said that you now have really put your stamp, your individual stamp, on this as well. And he didn't say what it was, but and maybe you could talk about that.
It's rubber, it's waxed. I think in the simplest of terms, it's our whole every element of everything we do. It's not about being perfect; it's about being better, and it's that simple. It's not it's not complicated, and it's really hard. It's really hard to go out and have a better Monday tomorrow than you had last week, than you had the week before, and so on. It's hard, I mean, you guys all write and do that better than everybody else, so you do better the next day than you did before, but it's one thing to just say that, it's a completely other thing to do it, and then go out in front of 80,000 people and millions on TV and execute it. And our guys have been committed, virtually without exception to that, kind of dogma, and it really is that simple.
Is there a learning curve to get the young guys to kind of buy into that?
Yeah, oh yeah. And that's the hardest thing is I think twofold. Making sure in recruiting you identify the guy that wants to be a part of that kind of thing. And we tell them, and we're very honest, that it's exceptionally difficult. It's hard. It's really hard. Unconventionally hard. And we're going to support you unconventionally because of it. And then also the shorter the time lapse from you showing up to jumping in the system, the better. For guys show up and they're, well, I used to power clean this way, and I played man coverage like this, and I studied like this, and I did this, and then a year and a half later they figure out, okay, yeah, you were right about everything. That's a year and a half of meh. Versus if you can make that 14 seconds by the time you show up on campus and jump into the process, it's going to happen a lot faster for everybody.
Andrew.
With teams like Colorado or Oregon State, where you haven't lost to Oregon State since these guys even got on campus, a lot of these seniors, what are the challenges of kind of instilling the threat in these guys who they haven't lost to these teams in forever? So obviously you live in a week-to-week mindset, I know this, but how do you kind of instill that we haven't lost them since 2007, and yet this is something that can happen?
We just never talk in those terms. We never talk like after the game. Somebody's asking about, like, I have no idea that Royce Freeman had 1,000 yards or Marcus had this and that. I had no idea about that. And we use some of that in recruiting, and I need to brush up on my statistics. But it's just have a great day and have like we talked about. It's that simple, but that's really hard. It's really hard to block out everybody talking about, okay, you're guaranteed in this game, you're guaranteed in that game, and these guys, here's your opponent, and this is going to happen, and no, it's not. You have to have a great Monday, and the challenge of doing that is really hard. And talking about a pep talk at game time. I saw a little bit thing the other day about pep talks or whatever before the game. You need to have a pep talk to have a great Monday and a great Tuesday and a great Wednesday. Saturday, if you're not ready to go on Saturday, we screwed up in recruiting, and that I think is much more, significant.
Any other questions on the phone? And none. You have another one, Warren?
Yeah, just real quick. Did you get a chance to rewatch Charlie Pape's The Piece last night? And what did you think of that? And I think we all broke Twitter and with how quickly he became the sensation. But did you get a chance to watch that?
I haven't had a chance to watch it. I try not to look at myself. It's not good for the viewer. It's not good for anyone. No, but that was hilarious. Were there 4 things or 3 things? I think math is the 4th. I think maybe we have to. No, it's a joke. It's not a funny joke necessarily.
Did you know the Pape family? Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Great people. Yeah. It was probably planted by his dad. Yeah.
We caught that.
I have a question in the back here. Charlie?
Following up on that, a lot of our viewers want to know, which do you prefer, Jesus Girls or Marcus Mariota?
Your viewers will have to wait.